Hello, everybody. I'm just going to get right into this right away. In the most forthright manner I can tell you to get you to intelligibly and cogently understand and comprehend this is Donald Trump, I'm just going to straight up say it, Donald Trump is striving to hurt your family and increase taxes on the lower 80%, which it actually shouldn't be called the lower 80% because 80% is the vast majority of people, will see a tax increase under Donald Trump's it's called the One Big Beautiful Bill, which is absolutely abhorrent that he hides behind that pretense of it being something that's extraordinary when it actually hurts the grave majority of earners in America, people who are already living paycheck to paycheck and are having more than one job and are struggling to raise their kids and put food on the table for their children. So this is something that people like to dance around about, and it flusters me so bad. I just want to give a straight live cam into my thought process here, because I can't describe how aggravating it is to me to see people dance around this. But the media is not telling you this, that the 20%, the highest 20% of earners in America will be the ones to benefit from Donald Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. The rest of us, the 80%, will on average pay a higher rate annually than we did before this. So what this bill is doing, and it has been advanced in the House by Republicans, and it's kind of sort of arcane where the future is in terms of the Senate, because there's been some reportings and sort of disclosures on if some Republicans might side with Democrats in voting against this bill. The motive of this bill is to permanently extend and preserve the 2017 Donald Trump tax cuts, which basically lowers corporate taxes for big companies and big businesses and deregulates them so they continue exploiting workers for higher and taking higher wages from them so they can sit on the desk as CEOs and rack up some extra additional money while wages, the people that they actually employ that do the work in the first place, their wages remain stagnant. So what this did initially is under Obama, before pre-2017 Trump tax cuts, the marginal tax rate for the richest, the highest quantile was about 39.6%, and Donald Trump lowered it to 37%. And this bill is either going to lower that so the rich pay less, and then that cost gets converted over to the rest of us, the 80%, or it's going to stay the same. And either way, that comes as a huge disservice and a disadvantage to the rest of us, because somebody has to pay those taxes. And when we should be increasing taxes on the rich, because they make a substantial living already, as we see in this country. Billionaires, I think 81 people in the world, 81 billionaires, own more wealth than 4 billion people in the world. 81 people own more wealth than a combined, solidified 4 billion people across the planet. And that is so sordid to me. It's something that I don't think is defensible whatsoever. So I went over this a little bit yesterday in my other video, but I kind of wanted to do it in more depth, pretty much. So if you are within the top 1% under this bill, say it's implemented, it gets passed by the Senate, and then it goes to the president, and Donald Trump's being crooked and depraved and self-interested is going to sign it because it benefits him, it benefits his kids, it benefits his family, but he could care less about the people that actually elected him to be president in the first place, which is people who are arguably in the lower class and the people who are in the middle class. These are people that really had voiced their support for him in the last election. And what is he doing? He is absolutely defeating them. He doesn't care about their interests and what comes to an advantage to them, as long as it helps him and the people surrounding him and his cabinet. our voices are kind of silenced a little bit. So if you're earning within the top 1%, you will see a tax decrease of $36,000 and $36,300, which is about 2.5% of their entire income. That is a significant tax cut for the top 1%. The next 4%, so this is still within the top 5%, will see an annual decrease of about $4,600, which is about 0.7% of their annual income, which is, again, a significant tax cut, a decrease for them. Now, the next 15%, this is a little more subtle, I guess you can say. After the top 5%, it isn't as prominent as the tax cuts for the 5 richest percent, but this is the next 15%. So the next 15% after the 4%, after the 1%, would see a tax decrease of on average of $110, which is 0.2 or 0.02%, which is a slight tax cut. And then anybody under that, so if you're not in the top 25% richest people, the richest earners in America, you will be seeing some kind of tax hike. You will be paying more, whether it be a lot more or whether it be a little bit more or kind of modestly more. You will be paying more under Donald Trump's new tax extension if this is implemented. If this is implemented and you lay and reside under the richest 25%. So you're literally 75% of Americans. You will be paying more in taxes because of Donald Trump. So let's not kind of sugarcoat and whitewash this. Let's just say it how it is, and stop defending him, because I know the people that like to tend to defend him are the ones that are more prone to really suffer and struggle under this budget plan. So I will go with this for you. If you're within the fourth 20%, you will see an average tax change of about an addition of $870 a year, which is a lot to some people, actually. That's an additional $870 for food, for basic commodities and necessities, and things for your children. And it's especially hard with Christmas and buying presents for holidays, which is about 0.4% of the entire fourth quintile's total income, and that is, again, a tax increase. So if you're in the middle quintile, which is the middle 20%, you will see an average tax increase of $1,500, which is 1.3% of your entire income. That's a huge tax increase for people that don't deserve this the most. We could be taxing the richest even just a slight higher rate, and we could be collecting revenue to give to the lower class and the middle class who are suffering. But Donald Trump doesn't care, once again. And if you are in the second 20%, so this is not the lowest 20%, but this is the 20% after that. So this is within the 40% lowest income earning Americans. So if you're in the second 20%, you will get an increase of about $980 a year, which is even higher than the middle 20% at a 1.6% tax increase. And lastly, if you are within the lowest rank, the lowest range, and you are within the 20% of smallest earners, the bottom quintile is what it's known as, you will see an average tax change of plus $800 a year. $800. That's nearly $1,000 in additional unnecessary futile expenses that could have been avoided if we had just elected Kamala Harris. Because if you looked at her proposed tax plan, you've seen a complete reverse, a complete flip, where the richest actually pay more. The lower 70 to 80% would have seen tax decreases in their annual income. They will be getting more money. But now, because idiots like I I said way before the election, I what's it called? Sound the alarms for this back in November. I made so many videos about this. I got my source from the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy, which did a very thorough and in-depth study of each candidate's tax proposals and determined that Kamala Harris's would actually lower cost for the average earner in America while coming to an expense just a little bit to the richest. The richest would pay more, and the additional revenue would be used to give tax cuts to the middle class. So I cannot, there's nothing more I can say when it comes to that because I knew this was going to happen. And it's not like it's completely up out of the water, and it's like, you know, so strikingly unbelievable and startling because he literally proposed this throughout his entire campaign, literally rolling back taxes for the rich and making them pay less, and using that to inflate costs and through tariffs especially, which did nothing, by the way, except raise costs for the consumer and hurt small businesses in America and get our own tariffs implemented against us on foreign countries. But anyways, lowest 20%, I said, will see an average increase of about $800 a year, which is about 2.1% of their entire annual income. This is, again, a tax increase. So, clearly, the lowest 75% will, again, see some sort of tax hike, annual tax hike, because of Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. This is not fair whatsoever. It really isn't. And I don't want you to trick your mind into thinking this is fair and try and manipulate yourself and brainwash and gaslight yourself into thinking that this is acceptable or this is somehow warranted or it's used for a good purpose. This is complete corruptness and inequitous, reckless actions being perpetrated to the American people. But keep that in mind if you hear your grandpa or your uncle saying, hey, did you hear about that big round of tax cuts that I'm going to get because of Donald Trump and the Republicans? Say, no, you're not. Unless you are within the top 25% of earners in America, you will be paying more. That is indubitably, you will be paying more. And this is so intentional. This is so premeditated and organized because big donors are giving money towards the Republicans. And if they don't vote to advance this bill, they will either be challenged by Donald Trump himself and try to be ostracized by the party, or they will not get their funding that they get annually by special interests and big businesses and corporate backers who hurdle money to them, just like with Israel and just like with guns and just like the big energy, big oil is funding a lot of these people. And it's funny, I wrote this down in my notes at some point. The only people, and I'm not justifying this at all, but the only people among Democrats who receive PAC money are exclusively for, I'd say, reproductive rights. And I think almost everybody in America can confirm that it is, in fact, good to protect reproductive rights. But you see, with Republicans, on the Republican side, you have big oil funding them. You have big pharma funding them. You have big corporations funding them. You have the gun lobby, the NRA funding them. These people rely on the majority of their funds and the majority of their income on these super PACs. Because if they don't call to them and answer to them, as opposed to answering to the American people, which they were elected to do, then they will no longer funnel money directly to them. So keep that in mind. Know that you will not be helped by this tax plan. You will only be further diminished and trampled into the ground by this.